All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we are going to be talking about Austria-Hungary, which are basically two countries that merged together. And you're going to see the kind of unique situation that they were in and basically how did they make that work? It's actually pretty interesting. And then lastly, we're going to go back and talk about our good old friend Napoleon III. Basically, this is like right before he lost to the Prussians and some of that. We're basically going to look at like what did he do for France, you know, things like that, and the bad things and good, you know. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. Okay. So again, we're going to analyze who Napoleon the Third was and what he controlled. We're examining Prussia led Austria to team up with Hungary and create an argument on whether the Austrian-Hungary, you know, connection will it last, as united countries, or will they last for a little bit and then separate, So we're gonna look at that today. All right, so here is your warm-up picture. Now, this picture I was actually wanting to use in the very first lesson of the imperialism, but I didn't, and I kind of like kicking myself now because it's a really good one to deal with the whole Russian and Crimea and the Ottoman Empire type of thing. Uh, but still, I wanted to use it. So my question to you is this: Look at the bear. Look what he has in his mouth, and look what he's saying. Why doesn't what he's saying make any sense? All right. So again, for some students, like last year and a couple years ago, um, it took them a minute in class. I'll never forget it. It took them like a long time to like make the connection of like, wait, what? I don't get it. I don't know. What's wrong with it? And it, I had to tell the rest of the class, hey, give them a minute. They'll figure it out. And I don't really read what the bear is saying and who's he saying it to, you know. So if you still have not got it, pause the video and again reread what the bear is saying and who's he saying it to. If you're still having trouble, I would strongly suggest you find somebody where you're at, brother, sister, mom, dad, whomever, grandma, grandpa, and ask them because I don't want to be the one to tell you. Okay, but I'm sure they will lovingly tell you. Um, yeah, you don't get it. They'll break the ice for you. Okay, so again, pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. So we're going to talk about Austria now. If you remember, during the Russian uh, war with the Ottoman Empire during the Crimean War, they asked Austria for help. Hey, let us go through your territory, and they can attack the Ottoman Empire from behind. And Austria said no to Russia. Okay, so, and then remember, Russia basically said, okay, we're going to be by ourselves, but Austria, we hate you guys. You're now our enemies. Okay, so remember, that was the situation that they were at. Now, here's the thing: the citizens in the country were from many ethnic groups. Like people from England are typically English people. People from France are typically French. People from Russia are typically Russian. But Austria, uh, there was a lot of people from different areas from around. You had some German, you had Austrian, you had people from Turkey, you had people from Russia, you had people from Italy, things like that, all kind of mixed into this area. So it was kind of like a melting pot of different groups. All right. So it wasn't just like one dominating group there. It was several. Okay. And many of them wanted independence. They wanted to be uh, a strong, independent Austrian country. Problem is, the Austrian government, they kind of didn't want that. They're like, no, 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 no. Let's just keep things the way they are right now. Now, here's the thing. If you remember from the last lesson, Prussia kicked the crap out of Austria. Not once, but twice. They beat them senseless. And because they got beat up pretty bad, again, not once, but twice, that left them vulnerable because a lot of their soldiers were killed or wounded and things like that. So the thing is, you have to remember, it's like this. Um, let's say you're walking down the street and um, you got your chain, your phone, your wallet, things like that on you, and then somebody comes and just sucker punches you, bam, you're right. You knock to the ground, they start beating you, them and their friends are beating you, this and that, and they break your arm, break your collarbone. You can't really walk because they just basically destroyed your legs, right? Now imagine there's a bunch of like homeless people around, right? They saw everything, things like that. Those people who beat you up, they take off. Just that's all they wanted to do, beat the crap out of you. Now you're really hurting, right? Physically hurting, arm busted, leg busted, your head's just swirling, things like that. Um, what are the chances that some homeless person might come and try to jack your wallet, take your phone, you know, take your shoes? Chances are pretty high, right? Because that's the thing. Most people, especially from at this time, countries, they see an opportunity to get land, they're going to take it. Like, hey, this country, they're weak right now. It's like sharks. They smell that blood in that water, they're going to attack, you know. So that's the thing. They were vulnerable. They, you know, have been hurt. Their number of soldiers depleted and things like that. So the thing is, now they're like, okay, who do we have as friends? And basically, they have nobody. Their one true ally, their one true friend, um, was Russia, and they turned their back on them. So they really had nobody to come and help them, defend them, back them up in a sense. So they're on their own. They're hurt, they're bleeding, and they're scared. Now, the Hungary people from Hungary, attacked Austria and basically forced them into a treaty known as the Compromise of 1867. So the thing is, the Hungarians, people from Hungary, they had just become an independent nation, you know. So what Austria wanted it to be, they already are. All right. Now the compromise with Austria, it didn't really give any satisfaction to the citizens who felt very like, we are a united group. We are, that's nationalism. We're the best. We're the things like that. So this whole compromise didn't really. They didn't want to, you know, buckle, to say, and accept the compromise. They were like, we're united, we're this and that, la la la, you know. So it kind of stirred the anger in some people in Austria. But the thing is, there was part of the compromise where the country became known as Austria-Hungary. You know, they're basically uh, Austria is its own country, but they're owned by Hungary. All right, Hungary is their own country too. But the thing is, it's that's what I mean. It's kind of weird. Like it's like um, they're united, but they're individuals. Okay, each country, Austria and Hungary, had their own constitution. They had their own laws. They had their own system of government and their own capital. So in Austria, the capital of that country is Vienna, and the capital of Hungary is Budapest. You know, now the thing is, like I said, they had their own laws, own government, some of that. But in order to keep the two states together, they had to have a single king, and this is where it just so happened to be a perfect time, perfect spot, because that dude you see right there with the awesome chops, I mean, honestly, look at that beard. That's just amazing. Um, that is Francis Joseph, and he just so happened to be the emperor, the king of Hungary, but also he's also the next in line to be like the emperor of Austria. So remember, if I remember from the last lesson, I told you how like they would have like the old king and queen back, and they would have like, oh, we'll have your son marry my daughter, and their children will, they'll rule this area, things like that. And there's a whole lineage system, and it just so happened to be that the next person to rule Austria was the king of Hungary, Francis Joseph. So it's like, well, yeah, kind of it's legit because he is the next in line. So yeah, we're cool with him being the emperor, you know. So besides them having their own constitution, their own government, their own capital, there is several things that they did combine. Okay, both Austria and Hungary. One is an army. They had one massive army. Foreign policy, basically how they interacted with other countries, that was united. Okay, so Austria couldn't be like, well, yeah, Hungary might get along with um, Spain, but we don't. No, 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 no. Does they had the same policy? You know, Hungary is cool with Spain. Austria is cool with Spain now. Okay, and their money system was made the same. So now citizens could be in Austria and have like $100 bill and go to Hungary and spend that $100 bill. Whereas in most places around the world, let's say you go from the United States to Mexico, you're going to change the dollar to pesos, you know, or you go to from the United States to Canada, you're going to change the dollar from dollar to they call their money, believe it or not, loonies. I didn't make this up. You can look it up yourself. So they basically made sure that the dollar was the same for both countries. So that way citizens can cross the border, can, swap money for goods and stuff like that, and there won't be a hassle of like, how much is your dollar worth compared to our dollar and things like that. Okay. So with this merger, Austria-Hungary has now become a very large and powerful country. Um, and also now they're independent. They don't really need to rely on anybody. They are a full functioning, ready to go type of country. Now, here's the thing though. Are they the ultimate power in Europe? God, no. They're not. Um, Allies, friends would be helpful, would be nice. Yeah, you know. But do they need a friend like how Austria did as a backup when they were by themselves? Does Austria-Hungary need backup? Not really. They can handle themselves in a war. So if like Germany, the United Germany, try to go against them, they could probably hold themselves up now. They won't get overrun like how Prussia defeated Austria. Both times. No, they could probably handle themselves now. Now let's go to France. Napoleon the Third was an auto, auto I keep killing. I practiced it. Please do not. I practiced it like 5 times before starting the video. Authoritarian, right? Of a type of emperor. Now, what is that? Basically, he's an autocrat. An autocrat is a person, king, queen, whomever, emperor, who takes no account, none, of other people's wishes, opinions, or whatever. It's their way or the highway. They're domineering. It's like you can tell them, I think this, I think that. They'll be like, okay, whatever, I don't care. That's an autocrat, but it has to be a leader in order to be an autocrat. Um, if it's a regular person, that's just like whatever. You're not domineering or anything like that. It's just you don't want to listen. Okay. Now, Napoleon III was in control of the armed forces of the army of France. He was in charge of their police and civil services. There's some things I read in the little uh, history books saying that he used the police to kind of spy on people, see if anyone was saying things about him. Because remember, his grandpa was Napoleon the First, and his grandpa was exiled and things like that. So he's kind of like, he knows his history, he knows his family history, and kind of see where wants to know what people think about him, and as emperor and things like that. Now, the thing is, he could introduce legislation, which is laws, and he could declare war when he wanted. So when uh, Otto von Bismarck was saying all this stuff to the French people and Napoleon. Napoleon said, "Yeah, let's go to war." He had the authority to say that. Now, here's the thing: when most like dictators, autocratic people take over a country, they tend to like run it straight into the ground and keep it going down there like that. But surprisingly, the first 5 years of his rule were actually pretty successful. They had a strong economy, their army was pretty good, things like that. Um, but the thing is, uh, there was a problem. Because again, going back to the French Revolution, it's all about the people. The people have no problem overthrowing a king. They've done it before. So, in order to make sure the citizens didn't realize that they were actually losing their freedoms, that he was putting these laws in and things like that to limit the people's power and give more to him, he expanded the economy. He gave people raises and jobs. People who didn't have a job, hey, you could now get a job. Um, so people were happy because hey, I got money now. I can do this. I can buy that. I can go on vacation. So when people are happy with money, which we talked about in last lesson, um, people tend to not realize that they're being taken advantage of. And again, this is another example. It hadn't happened in Britain, and it's happening again in France. Now, here's my question to you. Let's say the United States had to merge with another country, right? It's a country we share a border with. So we only have two countries we share a border with: Canada to the north and Mexico to the south. So, to you, in your opinion, which country do you think would work better with us? Merging with Canada so that Canada and United States are one country, you know, or the United States and Mexico if we merged, you know. So be sure to provide some type of logic to your explanation. Don't just be like, "Oh, I'd say Mexico because it's cool." That's not a great answer. So let's try a little bit harder on that. So think about it. Which country would really help benefit the United States? Merging with Canada or merging with Mexico, and why? You know. And again, don't just think like trade, what could they give us? But also think about communication wise. Think about you know, relations with other countries and things like that. And um, you know, do we benefit or do we get weaker? Overall, economy, military, things like that. So really think about it. Okay. So pause the video, write your response. Okay. But once you finish answering this question, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.